Hello, welcome to my channel and thanks for tuning into this video. Today I'm going to do an overview and demonstration and review of Westman Atelier. I'm going to be showing you almost a full face of Westman Atelier and sharing my thoughts on all the products and creating this look. So if you'd like to see all of that, just keep on watching. All right, let's get started with the foundation. This is called the Vital Skin Foundation. And I have it in the shade Atelier N, which is the lightest shade. I believe it's a newer addition to the line, and it's meant to not really have an undertone to it, a specific undertone. Neutral is what the N stands for. So let's get started with this. You could either apply it by just applying the stick directly to your face and then blending it out, or you can take your brush and go like directly onto the stick and then go onto your face. I find both work pretty much equally well. For today, I think I'll try going from the brush first. This is their foundation brush, which I wanted to try it and see how it would work with this foundation. I think it works pretty well. I was hoping for this to be a little bit more flexible, I guess. It's still a bit flexible, but it's quite stiff. And the fibers are quite densely packed, but I do think it works well. And for this type of a foundation brush, which I'm generally not a big fan of, I think this is pretty good, but I don't know that it's really worth it to get it, for me at least. I was also hoping that it would sort of serve as a larger concealer brush for me. So I love using this Sephora magnet concealer brush most of the time for my concealer. But sometimes if I want to cover a little bit of a larger area, this can take a little bit more time, and I was hoping this might fit that bill for me. But I think that it's not quite the best thing, just because it would need to be a little bit more flexible and fluffy for it to behave the way that I really want it to. But it works all right as a foundation brush, and I find it actually works well for some of the other products that I'm going to show you as well today. So just stay tuned for that. I've just taken some onto the brush here, and I'm just gonna basically paint it onto my face. I've been using this foundation for over a week now, and so I feel that I've got some fairly informed thoughts on it. And I will tell you, it's not my favorite foundation. I don't know that I would repurchase this foundation. I don't think it's bad at all, but it's just not ideal for me. First of all, I don't think the shade is a really perfect match. And so that's a downside for me. I also think that the coverage is not quite where I would like it to be for my standard everyday foundation. I like a little bit more coverage than I'm able to get with this. I think that if you are just concerned about evening out the skin tone a little bit, this is a great foundation, and it looks extremely natural on. I will say that. It's kind of funny in that way. Even my most natural foundations, other than this one, they add a little something to the skin. They add a little bit of something in their finish, maybe a little bit of luminosity or a slight mattification. Whereas this one, it adds no special effect whatsoever to my skin, which you might really like, especially if you're going for a truly no makeup look. This is perfect for that, because I find it doesn't enhance the skin at all. It just evens out the skin tone a little bit. Now for me, as I said, I like a bit more coverage, and part of that is because I can get sort of red blotchiness like around my cheeks, and I also will often have blemishes, and I don't find that this is very good for covering blemishes at all. I would normally go in with the concealer anyway over any foundation if I have blemishes, but I find this does less than all of my other, or most of my other foundations on blemishes. And it just, I think also it's the shade is a bit of an issue in terms of it not covering my redness the way that I want it to. Just kind of funny because I know that Gucci Westman herself, she always talks about having rosacea, and she obviously uses this foundation all the time and it works for her rosacea. So I think it just depends on the tone and your personal skin. This might be perfect for you. For me, it's not perfect, but I will still use it. I'll go through it, and it is really good for no makeup, and it also feels really nice on the skin. This is the one foundation that I have that even at the end of the day, there's no strange texture at all from it. Usually I'll feel a little bit blocked on my nose pores and so on. Even if you can't see it with my other foundations, by the end of the day, if I touch my nose, I can feel that it's just a little bit sort of bumpy or something. And this one does none of that, and this feels really nice. Even when you're washing it off, my skin feels really nice and smooth and hydrated, which is something that I don't notice that I experience that with other foundations. So I do feel like this is good for the skin. As much as a foundation could be good for your skin, I think this one is. So I've really taken my time because I've been talking throughout, but I've mostly just been trying to blend it out and just adding a little bit more coverage where I want it. But I am going to go in with a concealer now. And that's the other thing. This is sort of meant, I think, to be foundation and concealer, but for me, I need more from a concealer. So I'm taking my Armani Luminous Silk and just adding that where I have a bit more redness. I'll put it under my eyes a little bit too, and on my blemishes. My concealer is on and all blended, and I wanted to mention too that I think this foundation can benefit even after you've blended it out, just from pressing it into the skin a little bit. Just find that that helps it to really, really sink in and become one with your skin. I also really feel that this foundation benefits from a very light dusting of powder all over. I'm going to do that with the Kosas Cloud Set in the shade Airy. And just taking a big, huge powder brush and just lightly getting it all over the face. I think it helps the finish of it a little bit. Like I said, this foundation doesn't enhance my skin in any way in terms of the finish. So I think that putting just a touch of powder can help with that. And it also, the foundation is full of oils. It's a very emollient foundation. And I think that having just a little bit of powder on it just helps it to, again, sit properly on my skin. And I think the powder also is really helpful with the other products in the line because most of them are creams as well. And it just helps everything to sort of stay a bit more where you want it and sit on the skin nicely and last longer as well. So that's it, just a really light dusting of that powder all over the face. And now let's get into the rest of the line. I have something from most of their products, at least one shade of most of their products. I don't have their lip palette. I've heard that she's coming out or might be coming out with a nude version of that lip palette, which I think I would get that if that came out. And I didn't get the eye pods and I didn't get the mascara, but I think I have a little bit of something from every other product line. So I'll just show you those and then I'll talk a bit more about them. So I have the contour stick. They now have two shades of this. This is the lighter shade called Biscuit. I have two of the blushes. This one here is Dou Dou. It's kind of a rosy raspberry. It's really pretty. And this one is Chouchette, which is a nude peach and also really very pretty. I'll go into a bit more detail about those shades in a moment. And I have one of the lit up highlight sticks. This is the new shade, which was in her Christmas box as a limited edition, but now she's brought it out as a permanent product. And this is in the shade Nectar. I have the Superloaded Tinted Highlight in Peau de Peche. And I have the Beauty Butter Bronzer. And she now has two shades of this as well. I have it in the lighter shade, which is called Coup de Soleil. So I'll talk about each of those in more depth, but I just wanted to go over everything that I have. And then I showed you the foundation brush. I've also had this blender brush for a few months now, and I love this brush. I use it for foundation most of the time. I do find for the Westman Atelier foundation, this one's a little bit better than this, but for all my other foundations, love that. And then I also bought the powder brush, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later and how I like to use this. Let's get started. I think we might as well start with the contour. That makes sense. So again, this is the shade Biscuit, and I think this is a wonderful cream contour. That's the shade. And I know it's hard to tell on videos. I've watched a lot of videos about this product, and it was hard to tell the shade, but it really is a contour shade. It's very cool, and it has a little bit of purpley grayish undertones in it, which is perfect for contour. So I really prefer to just use this on under my cheekbones rather than going up on the forehead and under the chin. I think I might try it a little bit under the chin today, but most of the time I just use it under my cheekbones. And this is one that I really love using the foundation brush with as well. So there's still foundation on it, but I think that's fine. And actually it can help to tone down the contour color a little bit. And I just sort of blend up and back, and then if I'm gonna go in this direction, I blend up onto the cheekbone. So I think you can see it's a really subtle but effective contour for me. And the consistency of it is just perfect. It's definitely the best cream contour product that I've ever used. I have the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate palette in the shade 0.5, and I do like that, but I don't find it really so much of a contour shade. I find it a little bit warm to be considered a contour shade on me. So it's more of a cream bronzer for my skin. And I have a couple of the Nude Sticks bronzers, which I do like, but I don't find that they last very well on my skin. They kind of fade away after a couple of hours. And this one I find lasts really beautifully, and it's perfect color and it blends super easily. I also have the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Wand, which I don't like. I find that also too warm and just too strong. It takes over my whole face. No matter how little of it I put on, it blends out too much for me. I'm just taking what was left on the brush and just sort of putting that up on the temples. I'm gonna continue with a little tiny bit of contour just on my jawbone. So here's the contour on under the cheeks and under the jawbone. Let's talk about the bronzer. I love this bronzer, and I'm really surprised by how much I love it. And I don't know what it is about it, but I have to think it's just a combination of a number of factors. The tone, the finish, the formula. I love it, and I wasn't expecting to really like it that much, but I really wanted to try it. And I just think it's wonderful. So I'm gonna show you how it looks on me. And my favorite brush right now with this is my Sonia G Keyaki, the classic face brush. And it's the perfect size. It picks up the right amount of product, and it blends it really nicely. So I just put a tiny little bit. It's fairly deep for me, and it's quite pigmented. So I only like to use just a little bit of it on this nice fluffy brush, and just start slow. If I want more, I can build it up a little bit. So something about this shade I find makes this a little contoury as well, which is funny because it is quite warm, I think, but it's just, it must be the depth of it or something that I can use it without contour and I'll still get that contoured look. I really, really like this bronzer. Now, I don't like it. I've discovered that I can't pull it down onto my neck, so I can have it under my chin, again, as sort of more of a contouring product. But if I put it on my neck, it just looks way too dark there, so I can't do that. I would have to use a lighter bronzer if I wanted to pull some color down onto my neck. But otherwise, this is really beautiful. And it has quite a lot of product in it. It has 8 grams of product, which you might not think looking at it because it's in such a small little case, but they can pack a lot into that little space. And the compact itself, obviously it's beautiful to look at, but it's also beautiful to hold. It's very heavy. It's the same, I'd say about the same weight as the Tinted Superloaded highlighter. Just beautiful. And this, as well as that highlighter, they come in this little pouch, which is a faux leather pouch, which I much prefer to those suede, faux suede type pouches, because this you could just wipe clean if you get some powder or whatever on it. I don't find the pouches really necessary, but that one is actually very nice. So that's it. I just wanted a little light dusting of the bronzer, and I'll be putting that, I think, on my eyes later too. But for now, I wanted to move into blush. I'm gonna swatch the 2 shades for you to see. So this one is Dou Dou and that one is Chouchette. It's just a perfect neutral peach and it's very pretty. For today, I want to use the Dou Dou shade. I actually really like the powder brush for this blush as well as the Superloaded tinted highlighter. I'm not going to be using this highlighter on my cheeks today because I don't like all these products together. Not everything works together and it's just too much when I put everything on my face. But I'm gonna do another video, which will come out probably tomorrow or the next day, showing you how I love to wear this. And this is a very special product, but I have a specific way that I really like to wear this. So stay tuned over the next couple days for a video with that. I will probably put some of it on my eyes today, but I won't be putting it on my cheeks. So let's move into the Dou Dou blush. So like the foundation stick, you could go directly onto your cheeks, or you could take your brush or a sponge, I suppose, and go on your face like that. So I'm just gonna go with the brush today. And it's a beautiful raspberry. Again, I would consider it a perfect neutral shade. It has a little bit of warmth and a little bit of coolness in there. And it's really a gorgeous, life-giving shade, I think. And a little bit goes a very long way with these blushes, which is nice for a cream blush. Sometimes cream blushes are a little bit anemic in their pigmentation, but these ones are really great. And these blushes last very well too. That's another issue that I have often had with cream blushes, is that they'll look nice, but then they'll fade after a couple of hours. These ones I find last all day, and they last especially well if you have a tiny little layer of powder on underneath them like I do today. They're actually quite nice on the lips too, so I'm just gonna put this on my lips. Nice little flush of color. I have a little bit on my finger from spreading it out on my lips, so I'm just gonna throw a tiny bit right up on the top of my eyes just to pull that color into the eyes a little bit as well. It's something I like to do with blush a lot of the time. And just taking whatever's left on the brush and kind of pulling it over different parts of my face to create a more cohesive look. And now it's time to, I think I'll do the eyes and then I'll show you the other highlighter that I'm going to use. For the eyes, I'm taking my bronzer and I'm going to take my jumbo blender, Sonia G, and just go right into the bronzer and just pull it all over the crease and transition area. I think the bronzer looks great just like that, but I'm going to put it under the eyes too. Same brush, just on the tip. Just really easy to just sweep it along the lower lash line. Pulling a tiny bit of it under my lip too, and right on the top edge as well, just for that little bit of lip defining and contouring, very lightly. I'm now going to take the Peau de Peche and just with my finger put a little bit of that on my eyes. I think this looks beautiful on the eyes, but I will talk a lot more about this product in my next video. Okay, I'm gonna finish off my eyes and then I'll come back and we'll use this highlighter and wrap things up. Okay, my eyes are all finished. I just used a little bit of a brown on my waterline and then some black mascara. And now I want to get into the Lit Up highlight stick. This is the only shade of this stick that I have. There are 3 shades of it now, and I really like this shade. It's right there. So it's essentially clear, although it looks like sort of a peachy champagne. It's really clear. I can see a tiny little bit of a tint in it, but it's almost like a flesh tone tint or a flesh undertoned tint. So I find that it just shows up clear, and I think it would work on pretty much any skin tone because the tint is quite faint anyway. And again, you could just go directly onto the cheeks, and I do like to do that sometimes, or you can sort of go in with your finger and just tap it on. And it gives the most beautiful glassy glow to the skin. I love this product. It's kind of a polarizing product. Some people really don't like it, and I think it's mostly because they don't like the texture of it. They feel that it's a bit sticky and it doesn't really dry down on their skin. For me, I don't find it sticky at all. Like, I can feel that it's a little bit moisturizing and balmy on my skin, but for me it actually does mostly dry down. It will maintain a tiny little bit of a moisturizing feeling, like if you touch your face later on in the day, you can sort of feel it, but for me it sinks in pretty well, but the glow is maintained, and I don't have anything else that gives me this type of a glassy finish or a glossy finish that lasts all day. So I find this a really amazing and beautiful product, and I think this too, it's good with makeup, and it's also good, you know, just on its own on bare skin or on top of your skincare to just give you a little bit of that glossiness. And it's also great for a no makeup as well. I think it's a stunning product, and I'm really happy to have it. The packaging is really nice too. All of these products have gorgeous packaging. The sticks are all magnetized, the tops are magnetized onto them, and I appreciate that she brought this new color of the stick out with a different colored top, so it's really easily distinguishable from the contour, which has the all black packaging. The original shade of the Lit Up, which I think is just called Lit, I'm glad that I had this option, because that one looks to be sort of an iridescent purpley shade. So I think that's most of what I wanted to say in this video. As I mentioned, I'm going to do a whole video really featuring this Peau de Peche product very shortly, so just stay tuned for more information about this one. But everything else, I think I've said what I wanted to say. If you do have any questions though or comments, let me know down below. I came into this video, you know, feeling like I had a lot to say about everything, and I hope that I got to say everything that I wanted, but if I didn't, I can leave something in the description box, or you can prompt me with your questions, and hopefully I'll be able to help you out with that. But that's it for now. So I wanted to thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was enjoyable for you. If you'd like to see more from me, I would love to have you subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much again for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.